Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and like. Our episode begins with Yoon telling Sion that she remembers him from when they were at the restaurant. We go back 1 year. Sion and his group are sitting in a restaurant eating, and Yoon is in the same place, but she's drunk, so she orders another bottle. The worker gives her one, and also puts another bottle on Sion's table, saying he hasn't seen her before, and that she's new to the area. Sion turns and sees her swaying and about to fall, so he puts his hand under her head so she doesn't hit the table. He warns her that food isn't eaten like that, and shows her how to wrap it. Then he wraps it and offers it to her, but she refuses and accuses country people of being too nosy. Sion asks her if she's not from here and asks her name. She tells him that her name might disappear from existence tomorrow, and a beautiful word slips from her, which is where the word that affected Sion comes from. We return to the present. Sion asks her if that's why she asked to see him, and hints that even her clothes are the same. She admits she was wearing them back then. He thinks she's going to say she's his fan, but she changes the subject and says she expected the meeting to be because she remembered him. Honestly, she admits she tried to pretend she forgot because he kept asking her out, and she felt very embarrassed because he saw her in that state. But when she thought about what happened, she realized she had been grateful to him deep inside, and for that reason, she wanted to return the favor today. She gives him sweets and apologizes for pretending she forgot him, and thanks him for the day he stood by her. She moves to leave, but he asks her if she was trying to commit suicide back then, or if it was just an accident. We go back in a flashback to the day Yoon was drunk and walking in the street. Sion followed her from behind, caught up with her, gave her sweets, and said his famous line, "Sweets are the best medicine for disappointment." Back to the present, we see Yoon feel sorry for him, but she sets clear boundaries and tells him, "Who are you to interfere in my life?" and that spending some time together doesn't mean friendship, and that there's no relationship between them, except that she's his nephew's teacher. She leaves and walks away. The next day, she's standing in front of Sion's gift, remembering her words, convincing herself that this is how she returned the favor and closed the matter. Suddenly, a bee flies around the tree. She talks to it as if it were a person and asks it to go away because there are no sweets in the house. She tries to run, but the bee follows her until she goes out to the street and bumps into Choi, and the bee stings her on the forehead. Yoon feels guilty and hosts him at her house. Then she asks him what brought him there. He tells her he came to thank her for what she did for his sister, and she replies that there's no need for thanks because she's responsible for protecting her. He offers her the gift, but she refuses and says she doesn't accept expensive gifts. He jokes that she doesn't have anything in her house except expensive things. When she opens it, Yoon finds a chicken dish, and he gives her his card for times of need. Later, we see Sion at work, unlocking his phone, wanting to send Yoon an apology message. His friend comes and reads Yoon's name on the phone and jokes that she's the girl Sion likes. Sion turns the joke back on him and asks if he's planning to look for a new job. His friend gets scared and says, "No, I want to work in this place my whole life." Then Sion walks away, calling to his friend that there are still things he needs to carry, but his friend replies that he's tired today and doesn't even have the energy to carry a feather, and leaves. After that, we see the teachers training at a gym. One teacher wins and boasts about his strength, challenging anyone to face him. Then comes the surprise. Suddenly, Sion enters, and everyone is shocked because they didn't expect to see him at the sports center. Sue says they came to learn how to defeat him, but instead, they're learning from him. One of the trainers dares and talks about the bully at school, and if he had known he was talking about Sion, he wouldn't have spoken. The teachers try to silence him, but he continues talking about the person who breaks into the school and threatens everyone, and says that's why they came for training. When the teachers try to leave, his friend tells him they were eagerly waiting for him, but Sion explains that he came today to clear his mind, and asks to postpone the training, making the teachers very happy. But the boastful teacher insists on fighting immediately. He starts attacking with punches, displays, moves, and tricks, while Sion stands as if nothing is happening. Our strong, tall hero Sue jokes that she needs to look for a suitable place to bury him. Then the teacher sweeps Sion's leg and throws him to the ground, and everyone expects Sion to lose today. At that moment, Yoon calls, and Sion hears her name. Suddenly, the situation flips. He hits the teacher, throws him, pins him to the wall, and asks Sue to answer the call. When Sue answers, Yoon complains about defects in the house and says she ignored the larvae at first, but the bee infestation increased and she can't live there anymore. The word bee reaches Sion, and he becomes alert. Sue advises her that if she wants to get rid of the problem, she should look for an expert online. The next day, there's a meeting at Shinsu School to announce Sports Day. The decision is to draw lots to determine the teams, with medals for the winning team. The second-year students step up to draw. Han draws a white ball and joins the white team. Then Jin draws blue, meaning they're not on the same team. Sue tells Yoon she found a a bee expert in the Shinsu area, but the principal interrupts and asks them to draw. Yoon draws white, and Soo draws blue. After that, Yoon returns home and tries to eat the chicken dish Sion brought. But from the first bite, she remembers her father in the hospital feeding her. She breaks down crying because the taste is the same. She remembers what Sion said, that the first time she tastes it, she should call him, and she actually looks for his number. But before she calls, the doorbell rings. She opens the door and is surprised to find that the bee expert has arrived, and it turns out to be Sion, the tall and strong one. Yoon points to the tree and feels it's the cause of the problem. She says she didn't water it or take care of it until it withered, yet it endured thirst like its owner who gave it to her. She tells him she saw online methods like pouring gasoline or pesticide, but asks how he plans to get rid of them. She makes it clear that she doesn't care about the tree, even if it gets damaged. Yoon notices the beehive, screams, and he quickly grabs it and puts it in a bag. Yoon is shocked by how fast he is and goes to get ointment, but he brushes it off with his hand, refusing to take it. She tries to convince him that he must take it because it's clear he suffered a lot from the insects. She asks him for one more favor, to also remove the tree under her house. Yoon prepares food for him and keeps watching his strength as he works in silence. She says that if she had known before that there was someone who works like this without talking, she would have asked for his help long ago. But our heroine doesn't know the truth at this time. Choi calls to thank her for the food, and Sion hears the call and gets jealous, so he doubles his speed cutting the tree. The tree is about to fall on Yoon, but he catches it at the last moment. From her voice, she immediately knows it's Sion. At the same time, Han is in the library, watching Sejin from afar. It's clear he likes her, but she doesn't notice him. He pretends to be focused on studying and asks her if there's anything she didn't understand. She replies that she didn't tell him, because if she were in his place, she wouldn't teach him anything. Han says he won't lose to her even if he teaches her, so she asks him to study her, and they sit together. He explains an equation, but she gets angry, throws a ball at him, mocks him, and promises to crush him on sports day. We return to Sion, who admits to Yoon that he was disguised as the bee expert and asks her how she recognized him so easily. She tells him it was because of his shoes, and he admits he heard her conversation and felt she needed help. Yoon confronts him harshly and accuses him of interfering too much in her life and watching her. She says observers have intentions to harm people, while helpers have good intentions, but words can still hurt. Sion gets upset and says he thought he had bothered her, so he wanted to make it up to her. She replies that his help was a burden to her, puts the money he brought on the table, and leaves. Truly, her words hurt him a lot. At night, Sion removes the tree, and people are afraid of his presence, while Yoon talks to herself in her room, wondering why he insists on interfering in her life, even though she asked him not to. She decides to set clear boundaries with him. In the morning, Yoon and Choi drink coffee together, and Sion watches them from afar, trying to hide, but Choi notices him. A conversation between Yoon and Choi touches on rural people crossing personal boundaries in the name of caring, and Yoon feels he said exactly what was in her heart. That night, Sion removes his bandage, and his wounds are revealed. He talks to himself, saying he's a traditional man. If he likes someone, he shows it, and if he sees someone in need, he helps them. He says he doesn't understand soul people's boundaries. He asks his dog if there's a way to reconcile with Yoon without crossing boundaries. Then we see Joy delivering food to Yoon's parents. Her father is shocked that she ate from their cooking after all this time. Joy asks them about the reason communication with their daughter was cut off. We go back in a flashback to when Yoon decided to sue those who wronged her to prove her innocence, but her mother stopped her for the sake of reputation and scandal, saying people don't look for the truth, they look for scandals. Yoon confronts her mother, then goes to her father, but he doubts her and asks if she was really innocent. That doubt becomes the story that broke her relationship with her family. Despite everything, Choi tells them their daughter has the same heart and kindness. Yoon's father admits and regrets that he was harsh on her during that time. He hands Choi the evidence Yoon had gathered to file the case and asks him to start pursuing it, as it's the only way he can face his daughter and ask for her forgiveness after what happened. In that moment, it becomes clear that he finally believes his daughter after seeing the evidence with his own eyes. At school, a parents' committee meeting takes place, and everyone is divided into two teams. Sion notices someone present unofficially. Choi admits it's him, but says that as a lawyer, he read the parents' terms, and there's no disturbance. The principal asks each team to take responsibility, so Sion chooses the white team and Choi the blue team. Sion begins training his team in a strange way. He wraps the tug-of-war rope around his body, and the students try to pull him, but he alone defeats a whole team. In contrast, Choi's training is calm and organized. He explains his plan patiently, but the students get bored and want objects. Choi responds that intelligence defeats strength, but the student mocks him, so Choi ends the training and surprises them with donuts from a famous shop. The students are very happy, and he encourages them that if they win, the rewards will be even bigger. At night, Sion visits his dog and meets Yoon, and they play with him together. Yoon asks the dog to tell Sion that she will leave. Sion asks the dog to ask her if she's seen the bee again, and the dog reassures him that it's gone. Sion talks to his dog about himself and admits that he may be rough, but he's loyal to his promises and only asks that people not think badly of him. He grabs the white ball and promises his dog he will win the medal at any cost. The next day is the day of the challenge. For Sejin's sake, Han asks his uncle Sion to withdraw and lose on purpose. Sion is surprised and asks him why, but Han says, "Why are you so determined to win?" Sion explains that the students need movement and team spirit, and also that his victory will make the teacher happy. Each of them is fighting in his own way for the person he loves. Han tells him that Yoon is on the blue team. Sion can't believe it, but Han says Sejin saw her carrying a blue ball. We see Sion at school suddenly change his approach and tell his students that obsession with winning is bad, and that participation is more important than victory, the complete opposite of yesterday. What's sad is that Han goes to tell Sejin that after the match, she'll see whether his intentions are good or bad, because he's confident his uncle will lose. Then Sion starts giving Choi advice that will help him win, but the surprise happens when Yoon flips all the calculations upside down, ruins both Choi's plans and Sion's plans together, and reveals that she's on the white team. And both of them are surprised that she's on the white team. We go back an hour and learn that Jae said he would leave the white team because he's injured, and Grandma would take his place. Then we go back another half hour and learn that Gom went to the supervisor and told him she drew the white ball from the start and had to be on the white team. She kept talking to him, basically saying he was an unfair supervisor with no conscience and that she's a respectable teacher who never goes back on her word and must be on the white team. So he humored her and said, "You're right, stay on the white team." We return to the present. Jae suddenly loses his voice and goes to Han, saying, "You tricked me, didn't you?" Han replies, "No, C told me she'd be on the blue team." Then John goes to C and says, "Didn't you tell me Boom would be with us?" She says, "It doesn't matter. What matters is that we win." "And why are you so focused on her?" He says, "I mean, the girl is poor and kind." She replies, "And do you know why this poor girl came from Seoul to here?" He asks how she knows, and she says, "Didn't my dad tell you?" We find out that C's father investigated Boom and knows she left her old school because of a scandal. C hears all of this, and John silences her and tells her not to tell anyone. She says, "Let's just win the competition, and I won't tell anyone." The competition starts, and the first game begins. Jae is about to talk to Han, but says, "It's okay if I don't win. It's fine." Grandma tells Jae, "Aren't you injured? Stay where you are, and I'll win." Boom is watching them, and is surprised that Jae isn't participating, which means they'll definitely lose. She races with the supervisor, and Jae gets worked up cheering her on, while she runs trying to hit the supervisor. Then she hands over to Grandma, and Jae panics because Grandma can barely walk. After that, Grandma hands over to Han, and all the girls in school cheer for Han, and Jae cheers too in their same silly way. Han throws the stick instead of handing it over, and everyone is shocked by what he did. A dog comes and grabs it and refuses to let go, and that almost makes them lose because of Han and his love for C, who actually wins and says she crushed Han and is very happy. Grandma says she can't continue because she's injured, and Jae walks away upset, but Boom goes after him and checks for herself that his leg is fine and there are no injuries. He tells her he had to lie to them. She says, "Because of me, right?" He asks how she knew. She says, "Just because we argued doesn't mean you leave the team, and I embarrassed you that day for personal reasons." He asks what those reasons were. She says, "If you want to know, win the competition, and I'll tell you." And she gives him the white team t-shirt. He says, "I promised Han I wouldn't participate." She gets upset, and as she walks away, she trips and says her leg hurts from the fall, so she'll continue talking in that position. Sitting down, she says, "Grandma really wanted to participate and win, and you're about to ruin her dream and leave a 70-year-old woman sad and about to cry." He doesn't know whether to stand with her or against her and says no. She stands up, but then comes back and tells him 2 words with no third option. On the other side, Boom's mom is about to make a new movie, and a journalist asks her about her daughter and what she did at school to cause that scandal. She says she doesn't answer personal questions and feels very embarrassed about what happened. Then we go to John, holding 2 coffees, getting ready to give one to Boom. When he reaches her office, he learns that Jae brought her food and she ate it. He gets very upset about Jae's attention to her. Then we go to the tug-of-war game. Jae isn't with them and is sitting with the white team shirt, remembering her words when she told him she didn't come today for anyone but him, and that that she needs him. He's shocked and asks her to repeat what she said, and she tells him he's the person she needs. We go back to them as they're getting ready for the game to start, but Jay enters, and everyone is surprised. The white team is very happy, especially our heroine. He ties the rope around his hand, and the game begins. They're tied, but the two tallest people step forward. John says to him, "Didn't you tell me to win? Why did you join and break your promise?" He replies, "You especially shouldn't talk about promises." We see a scene of John getting beaten and tied up, but Jay arrives and defends him, and returns all his things, because John understands how to deal with kids. Then he agrees with John to protect him in exchange for John teaching and caring for the child. But Jay says, "Forget teaching, I'm not a college guy, and there's no money." John says, "I'll pay you and teach you too." We leave them and return to the present. John says, "I was wrong to help you one day." Jay replies, "Are you done? I was just warming up." Then he pulls them all together, and they win the competition. They celebrate him, and from happiness, he dances while hugging Boom. Han is upset. Then we see a woman arrive at Jay's house. His friend asks who she is. She says she wants to meet Mr. J and looks nervous. He tells her Jay and Han are in a competition right now. When she hears their names, her eyes light up, and she says she'll call them, then leaves. We see Jay's phone by itself ringing with the number saved as that woman, and now we know who she is. We go back to the competition as the final game begins. Its idea is simple. Whoever opens the box first wins. Everyone tries to open their boxes. At that moment, Jay holds our heroine's hand and asks her why she's playing like that. She listens to him. The blue team is about to win, but Jay intervenes and throws 3 balls at once, and the white team wins the competition. Our heroes go crazy as usual. C cries, and Han is sad for her, even though she actually hates him and wants him to lose no matter what. But as we know, love blinds. John gets upset by Boom's closeness to Jay. The girl who always calls Jay arrives, and it's clear she's upset too, because Boom is with him. At home, Han says to him, "You traitor!" He replies, "Watch your mouth, I'm your uncle." Han says, "Why did you break your promise to me, uncle?" He says, "I don't know." Han says, "How can you not know?" He replies, "Right, I saw you trying to make our team lose, so I stepped in, so I could win over my nephew. Does that mean I'm wrong?" Then he asks him, "Why were you trying to make your own team lose?" He replies, "I don't know." He says, "How can you not know?" He answers, "I just wanted to see her happy." He says, "I also wanted to see her happy." They both stare at each other blankly after exposing themselves. We go to our silly girl, who's very happy because she won. She flirts with Jay's plant because his name is written on it, and she remembers when he held her hand, and the situation almost turns into something different, but she snaps herself out of it before a love relationship starts between her and the plant. She remembers her promise to Jay to tell him why she came from Seoul. At C's house, they're happy because C at least won the first round, but she's very upset with Joe because he lost her round. He tells her, "I'll help you beat Han." She imagines herself winning and notices that Han, despite his loss, was happy for her happiness. After that, she meets him while he's trying to give her the medal, but she doesn't speak. He tells her, "Forget it. What matters is I don't want you upset over this silly competition," brings her a cake and tells her not to be sad and to stay strong, and that she'll definitely beat him next time anyway. She stays quiet for a bit, then asks him if he likes her. We go to the dog's dad and mom, who are very happy. The vet comes in and tells them he's fine now, and asks who's going to adopt him. At the same time, both of them say, "Me." They both want to take the dog. Then they reach a solution. Boom will take him, and Jay will visit him twice a week. Suddenly, she stops him and says, "Didn't you tell me you'd tell me why you left Seoul when we win the competition?" She says, "I was joking." He replies, "There's no joking about this. Tell me." She says, "Okay, when the day ends." He says, "You've got 12 hours. On the other side, John is with her mother. She tells him that Boom caused her problems because of what she did at school, and that she got sick and came to the hospital because of it. She says she wants to save her reputation as an actress, and at the same time, not lose her daughter Boom, and asks him to help her. Meanwhile, our heroes are with the dog, talking about parenting and how hard it is these days. Jay says the most important thing in proper parenting is love. Boom is surprised because her mother never treated her with love her whole life. Jay finishes at the dog's place, and she holds the dog and says, "I love you," meaning she's speaking on the dog's behalf. Jay is shocked. Then they walk together at his power station. He says, "1 minute left before the day ends," and asks her, "Why did you suddenly turn against me?" She doesn't answer. He says, "You've got 10 seconds, and counts them. The girl says she was afraid of falling in love with him. He's shocked, and they stare at each other. And with that, the events of episode 2 come to an end, and the next episode will be aired next week. Please like and subscribe. Goodbye. funny troublemaker named John. He's a high school student, but honestly, he's a full-on little devil, driving all his friends crazy. Even the principal, Julia, can't stand him. He always makes her frown, and he says